So if you want to get rid of the state, you got to get rid of the source of it, which is basically scarcity. And then basically, if you want to get rid of scarcity in this modern world, you got to get rid of the market, because the market needs scarcity. And I describe this from a standpoint of post-scarcity, meaning I am aware of the statistics and the trends that we have now, that we can create a new social model, highly participatory, not central planning, not dictatorial, where you can create a new apparatus for social interfacing in commerce and exchange, not exchange per se, but in the creation of ideas and creating facilities to initiate ideas and bring goods into service and everything else without the use of money, and hence creating interest in abundance and post-scarcity. I don't have time to engage the naysayers anymore because it's so exhausting and there's so many of them, and the religious rights or these super jingoistic patriots. But if I had the opportunity, I could debate anybody into a fetal position.
My name is Griff, and I agree with pretty much everything you say. I have a difference of opinion with causality based on it being the market. For instance, he mentioned free energy, and Libya actually had free energy. Everybody in Libya had electricity for free, but it wasn't the market that stopped it. It was governments that came in and bombed them and killed people and, you know, just like murdered their leader or whatever. So how can you say that the market economy is the cause of all these things when a free market is really just allowing people to exchange anything, whether it's ideas, money, or, you know, anything freely? How is that possibly a problem?
Well, I don't want to repeat about 40 minutes of lecture that I just went through. But the first thing I'll say is that structurally speaking, the system's based on limiting costs to increase competitive nature, the competitive quality. So cost efficiency is detrimental. It is irresponsible. It is environmentally corrupt. There is absolutely no merit in any market where someone can make the best, easily updatable anything of the highest accord at that point of the state of knowledge that exists. It's impossible. Everything has to be made inferior. Second, it's based on cyclical consumption. You have to have constant turnover in the free market. Forget the philosophy of free market. Throw that out the window. It's what's actually occurring. It's what the mechanism of that is still inherent in the system. The theory of free market put forward by all these very verbose individuals, and they make great internal logical sense. Well, Ron Paul misses a great deal, though, because the conspicuous consumption factors, the planned obsolescence, intrinsic obsolescence, the fact that the entire thing is driven by consumption and it can't stop. So the ability to create an abundance, okay, let's assume for a moment right now, as I mentioned earlier, that we could create free food and free energy. It's technically possible. We could survive lots of things. If you were to implement that now, the entire system would collapse because there's far too much money moving in those sectors that's enabling labor for it to continue, for it to support itself, excuse me. Now that isn't to say, over very long periods of time, somehow other markets could take the place of that. But what defines those markets, and are they actually relevant? At what point, the free market was defined and made when people were trading for fish, when they were doing things that were truly rationally sustenance-oriented. They weren't buying computers to create web designs. They weren't doing things that really didn't relate to the life ground as we do today. The economy now is driven by basically conspicuous consumption? Yeah, conspicuous consumption, and that's a term coined by Thorsten Veblen, which I encourage you to read his work because he does a beautiful analysis on the market economy and its flaws. With that basis, you can't have sustainability, efficiency, and relate to the actual life ground environment that supports us. In other words, as I said at the very beginning, the monetary economy, the market economy, is a concoction that works to a certain degree, but it's actually against the true natural earth economy. It goes against every attribute of it. If you can give me another example of something specifically, as far as just people trading things for themselves, that isn't an example. You have to define the technical means and the interaction and why it's actually better than, say, what we propose. It has to be very specific.
Well, no, I like what you propose. The free market's only here to deal with scarcity. We don't have scarcity in food. We shouldn't, at least. And so the free market shouldn't really have any place in that.
Actually, no. The free market assumes a certain type of scarcity because of the value of scarce items, limiting those goods or commodities because the price rises, right? But it's also based on another completely paradoxical assumption that we have an infinite amount of everything because it's based on constant turnover.
That is not true. That is the market economy as the Federal Reserve has built it.
No,
the real Austrian
nothing to do with
economics
central
economy
banking.
is a resource-based economy, just like you guys. I really think that we have a lot of agreement here.
I'll say this. The assumption, all right, one second. The assumption that the market economy efficiently organizes materials and accurately and scientifically allocates them to create the most efficient means, whether it's the good or whether it's the production method, is completely erroneous. The market economy is based on the whims of people seeking market share money. It has nothing to do with a calculated sense of the environment. The only way you can have a true economy, period, is calculating everything from the ground up, just like you build an airplane. You can't have someone building something over here inside the airplane, another building something over here without knowing each other and knowing how it's going to interact as a system. The market's based on a false notion that everyone working amongst themselves actually comprises intelligence in the larger order, which is why Adam Smith's invisible hand is so absurd and religious.
Yeah.
But that's wrong. You can't have that. It's insane. So the market economy, by its very definition, is a traditional notion that's provably false because it doesn't actually create environmental efficiency or use of resources in any strategic way.
The market economy is not what we've ever seen. We've never seen a free market.
Well, what is the market economy then?
A free market is where people are allowed to do basically whatever they want. They have to provide value.
People cannot be allowed to do basically whatever they want when it comes to the management of the earth's resources.
Well, there have been many a study that has shown that central planning cannot efficiently work as a socialist society with more than 150 people. There are studies all out there.
Either central planning, either calculating society will work or we all die.